Emily from Two Roaming Souls, and today I want to share some helpful tips to plan the perfect Colorado ski trip. Jake and I have off and on been living in Colorado ski towns for 10 plus years now. So we know ski vacations can be pretty expensive and kind of a hassle with renting gear, getting to and from the mountains, and everything else involved. So we want to share how to plan a ski vacation and share some helpful tips to help save you some money and have a stress-free Colorado ski trip. So let's get into it. Okay, first, you need to decide which ski resort you want to visit. And luckily, there are tons of great ski resorts located all around the state of Colorado, including some ski hills. And these are ranging from the mega resorts like Vail, Aspen, Breckenridge, to some of the smaller resorts that maybe you've never even heard of. Most of the major resorts are along the I-70 corridor, which cuts right through the state, which means they're located about an hour and a half to 4 hours away from the Denver International Airport. Like we mentioned, there are tons of resorts around the state of Colorado, but some of them might be a little bit more difficult to get to and require you to go over some maybe sketchier mountain passes. But we'll get into all of that later. So there are a few different ways to visit each ski resort, either by season pass or individual lift ticket. And in this video, I want to be super informative, but there is a lot to cover. So I'm going to try to do my best, but some of the pricing can be a little confusing because most of the major resorts are on dynamic pricing, meaning the price fluctuates quite a bit depending on the time of year and the demand. So let's start off with the season passes offered in Colorado. And you might be wondering why we even would be covering season passes if you're just planning one ski trip. But often, if you're skiing more than 3 days in your ski trip, you'll probably save more money getting a season pass versus buying individual lift tickets on that day. And honestly, the current state of the ski industry is that the big corporations price their daily lift tickets super high just to encourage people to get season passes. So let's talk about the two major season passes that are offered in Colorado. The Epic Pass is probably one of the most popular season passes offered in Colorado. And they provide access to 6 different Colorado ski resorts, including Keystone, Vail, Beaver Creek, Breckenridge, Crested Butte, and Telluride, which is only offered through the full Epic Pass. Which kind of leads me into, there are a few different pass types that you can get for the Epic Pass. There is the full Epic Pass, which has no restrictions and you get full access to all of the resorts. There is the Epic Local Pass, which you can get if you're not a local as well, but the Epic Local does have restrictions on very popular holidays and has limited access to some of the other popular ski resorts. And then there is also the option of the Epic Day Pass, which ranges from 1 to 7 days, and if you buy these passes in advance, they can save you tons of money versus if you just buy them on the day of. One perk to the Epic Pass is you do get 20% off of anything owned by Vail Resorts, such as lodging, lessons, rentals, food. But from my experience, when you do compare the prices to some of the other companies, you might notice that Vail Resorts upcharges a lot of their stuff, so you're getting a 20% discount, but it's just going back to the normal price that you get from a different company. So take that information and do with it what you will. The other competitive pass to the Epic Pass is called the Icon. And the Colorado ski resorts that are included on the Icon Pass are Aspen Snowmass, Steamboat Springs, Winter Park, Copper Mountain, Arapahoe Basin, and Eldora Mountain. And then similarly, there are 3 different types of passes. There is the Icon Pass, which has unlimited access to these 4 Colorado ski resorts, and up to 7 days at the other 2. There's the Icon Base Pass, which does have restricted dates and restricted number of days at certain resorts on the pass. And then there is also the Epic Base Plus, which does include a few more days at some of the premium resorts. And then there is also the Icon Session, which ranges from 2 to 4 days. And then once again, you will save more money if you buy these passes in advance versus getting a daily lift ticket on the day you plan to ski. And each year you renew your Icon Pass, you will get a $100 discount. So that could be beneficial as well. The next option is called the Mountain Collective Pass, and this one works slightly different. You don't get full access to a whole bunch of resorts. Rather, you get 2 days plus 50% off any additional day you want to use at that resort. But for the Colorado resorts it includes is Arapahoe Basin and Aspen Snowmass. So I'm not sure it's really beneficial versus having one of the other 2 passes if you want to visit more than one Colorado ski mountain town. Say this pass is a little more designed for people that maybe want to go on a ski road trip and spend 2 days at a few different resorts along the way. And the reason this one isn't super beneficial for a Colorado ski trip is it only includes 2 Colorado ski resorts. And this pass is slightly cheaper than the other 2, but I don't think it's as good of a value when you compare the other 2 to this pass. And lastly, there is the option to get a season pass to some of the smaller independent resorts. And these season passes kind of work differently, as in you will buy the season pass and get exclusive access to that ski resort. And then additionally, you will get 2 to 3 days in their alliance or partner resorts. But like I said, it can be a little confusing because they all kind of go by different names, and they're priced individually for those independent ski resorts. But they are often cheaper than the other 2 mega resorts. Which then leads me into individual ski lift tickets, which might make you understand why you might consider getting a season pass over an individual lift ticket. So what I've done is try to divide the ski resorts into different price tiers. But again, due to dynamic pricing, these prices can often fluctuate. So first, let's start off with the highest tier, which is tickets that are $200 plus, and sometimes exceeding over $300 for one single day. And these resorts include Breckenridge, Beaver Creek, Telluride, Vail, Silverton, Aspen, Steamboat Springs, and Winter Park, which most of these resorts will have the most acreage and the most variety of skiing terrain. And they also have the most infrastructure like lodging, shopping, restaurants, and so much more. So that price is kind of built into their lift ticket, knowing you will likely have an overall better experience. There is a tier right below that does include some of the mega resorts, and that is Crested Butte, Keystone, and Copper Mountain. So if you still want to have that mega resort feel, but save maybe a little bit on your lift ticket, then you might consider these 3 resorts. Okay, the next tier I want to call the value tier, where tickets can be anywhere from $90 to $150 plus, which includes Arapahoe, Eldora, Loveland, Monarch, Powderhorn, Purgatory, and Granby Ranch. These mountains are still great, but they might be a little smaller. But honestly, for most people, you will find yourself plenty happy. But they're generally missing that ski town vibe to entertain you once you're off the mountain. So that is why those tickets might be slightly cheaper than some of the mega resorts. So if you're a die-hard skier and that's all you care about on your ski vacation, these ski resorts can be a really great option for you. And then we have the budget tier, where you can score a ticket from $50 to $100. I'd say they're super good value, even smaller resorts, and less of a ski town vibe nearby. But if you're trying to do a budget ski vacation, these can be a great option. Okay, and the last tier is certainly the most affordable. You might even be able to ski some of these for free, but they are basically micro hills. And if you're coming to Colorado for a ski vacation, I wouldn't even suggest going to these. They won't be worth your time and effort to get to these mountains. So given the different day pass prices, you might understand a little bit better why a season pass makes more sense. And something to consider is the Epic and Icon and some of the other season passes might actually have access to a ski resort near you. For example, if you live in the East Coast, you might be able to get access to some of those ski resorts near your home, and then you can plan a ski vacation, ultimately just saving you money on all lift tickets. And another note I want to add is if you're going on a family ski vacation where maybe not everyone does want to go skiing, then some of the mega resorts do have many other activities that maybe some family members can do during the day when other people are on the ski resort. For example, snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, dog sledding, checking out some local restaurants, and so much more. So that's why sometimes the mega ski resorts are better for a whole family as a whole. Personally, I think the mega resorts are worth it. And especially with the Epic Pass and the Icon Pass, you can visit multiple ski resorts in one trip, offering just a huge variety of terrain. And I also love the ski town vibe, and there's tons to do off the slope as well. But if you're looking for a ski resort with maybe a little lower price tag, you might consider Arapahoe Basin, Ski Cooper, or Loveland. All of these are great resorts, but they just don't have that huge ski town vibe. But here are some additional tips for buying passes and getting discounted lift tickets. Buy your passes in the spring for the best price, if you can manage to plan that far in advance. And if you are planning last minute, definitely try to buy your pass online because you will be able to save a little percentage of money versus if you walk up to the ticket office. Seniors, children, military, and college students likely will get a discount on passes and lift tickets. Also, you can use sites like gettickets.com or Liftopia to find some discounts on lift tickets throughout the season. And lastly, avoid all holidays and weekends if possible. That is when the prices will be most expensive. Not just on lift tickets, but on lodging, transportation, etc. So on that note, let's talk about when to visit. The 4 busiest times for the ski industry are Christmas to New Year's, MLK weekend, which is usually the 3rd Monday in January, President's Day weekend, which is usually the 3rd Monday in February, and spring break, which is usually early to mid-March. If you can avoid any of these seasons, you'll have likely a better experience at all of these ski resorts. Personally, I think the worst time to come is from Christmas to New Year's because a lot of the terrain isn't open yet, so it kind of forces everyone down the same runs, which can lead to very long wait times in the lift lines. If you're looking for the best snow conditions, I'd say visit in January or February. Those are the days where you'll likely have your highest chance for a powder day or some fresh snow. But conversely, if there hasn't been much snow, then the conditions might just be cold and icy. Well, West Coast icy. Personally, my favorite time to visit is in March. Just the vibes on the mountain are so great. All of the terrain is open, spreading the crowds out. Days are longer, so you get more sunshine. And it's still winter, so you still might get those powder days. And if you're looking for the cheapest prices, you might consider late March or early April. The conditions can be pretty variable, and you'll probably experience a lot of slushy snow, which can be kind of sticky. So if you're just starting out skiing, it's not really the best conditions, but you could save a bunch of money on lift tickets, lodging, rentals, etc. Okay, now that you know what ski resort you might want to visit, let's figure out how to get there. Denver is obviously the major international airport, and most people will fly in here. But there are a few smaller airports that you may consider flying into instead. For example, if you want to ski Vail or Beaver Creek, you might consider flying into the Eagle Airport. Or for Steamboat Springs, you might consider flying into the Yampa Valley Airport. And then Telluride actually has an airport in the town, or there are some cheaper options also flying into Montrose. And then there are also airports in Aspen, Gunnison, Pagosa Springs, Durango, and Grand Junction, which might be helpful depending on the ski resort you plan to visit. But like I said, most people will probably be flying into Denver, and then they need to find a way to that ski resort. And honestly, everything is pretty well organized. There are many different shuttle companies that will provide rides from the Denver airport to the ski resort and back. I will list some of those options right here. And again, a lot of these prices do fluctuate during the time of year. There's also the option of taking the Mustang, which is one of the cheaper options. But do note you will need to ride the train from the Denver International Airport to Union Station where they will pick you up. So that can be kind of confusing and kind of a hassle, but for saving money it could be great. And then of course you can get a rental car, but Colorado has some of the sketchiest mountain passes. So you must get all-wheel drive or 4x4. There is no exception. These roads often experience a lot of crashes, so sometimes it's nicer just to leave the driving up to the professionals. And honestly, a lot of the major resorts will have free in-town shuttles, so you don't really need to have a car to drive around, and sometimes it can just be more of a hassle to have a rental car, especially if you're staying in hotels or resorts, because sometimes you have to pay to park that car. But if you are visiting one of the less popular ski resorts, it probably is best to get a rental car because a lot of the shuttles might not run to those ski resorts, and there might not be free in-town shuttles, which is sometimes why these mega resorts are slightly more expensive because you do have these additional perks. Okay, now that you have an idea of which ski resort you want to visit, let's talk about where to stay. Around all the major ski resorts, there's a plethora of options, from hotels, resorts, vacation rentals, and even some hostels for the budget conscious. Something to consider is your proximity to the ski resort or your location near a bus stop to get you to the ski resort. On the more premium end, there is ski in, ski out types of accommodations where you basically can walk out your front door and you are on the slope. But of course that comes at a premium price. But if budget is not an issue and you travel with like a family or have small children, sometimes that luxury can be very beneficial. And then generally, more affordable options are located off the ski resort and then will require more of a walk to the resort, maybe catching a bus or driving to the ski resort. Here are a few tips I use when searching for accommodation. When searching for a hotel or vacation rental, I like to change the price point to something reasonable that I'm willing to pay. Because as you'll notice, there are a wide variety of places to choose from. And then if you have the dates that you are traveling, I would put those specific dates in. But if you are a little bit more flexible, you do have the option to put in flexible dates. And I like to do this to make sure I'm getting the best price if I don't have specific dates I need to plan for. And once you find your perfect accommodation, my suggestion is to read recent reviews to make sure that everything is going smoothly at that hotel or vacation rental and that people are enjoying their stay, because then likely you will too. Booking where to stay can be the most expensive part of your ski vacation. So if you do have flexible dates, sometimes it can be beneficial to find your accommodation first and then plan everything around that, because you might be able to save hundreds to thousands of dollars. And for my budget-conscious travelers, there are a few great options to save you a few bucks on accommodations, such as the Bivvy in Breckenridge, the Bunkhouse in Vail Beaver Creek area, the Bivvy Hotel in Telluride, the Crested Butte Hostel, and In the Clouds Hostel and Inn in Leadville. So now let's talk ski rentals. If you aren't coming to the resort with your own gear, then you will likely need to rent some ski or snowboard gear. While there are tons of great ski rental companies, there is one ski rental company that we highly suggest, and that is Ski Butlers. Full disclosure, Jake does work for this company, but that's why we know it is a great company. They have competitive pricing and they literally bring the gear to you, so you don't have to wait in those long lines to get your ski gear. They come to you, and we can give you a 10% discount as well. Why we love Ski Butlers so much is they take the stress out of the rental process. You just put in your age, weight, height, shoe size, and ability level, and the experts will take care of the rest. You can sit in the comfort of your home as they size you up for your ski gear. This can be especially great if you're traveling with a family or a large group so that everyone doesn't have to go to the ski resort. You guys can just sit back and relax and then take turns as they size each person up at the house. Okay, briefly I want to talk about ski and snowboard lessons. If this is your first time skiing or snowboarding, you might consider getting a lesson. They can be expensive, but they can be worthwhile. Where you can spend your first day learning how to ski or snowboard from a professional, and then you can practice those skills on your own for the remainder of your trip, versus trying to teach yourself the whole trip and not really getting anything down. There are two types of lessons offered: a private lesson and a class lesson, which is in a group setting. And then you can often choose between a half day or a full day. If money is not an issue, then a private lesson will give you that undivided attention and progress you a lot faster. But class lessons are a lot cheaper and still a great way to learn how to ski or snowboard. The only negative about taking a class lesson is if you progress really quickly, but the rest of the class isn't progressing very quickly, they can't just send you up the lift on your own. You'll have to wait for everyone else in that class to get to your ability level before you can progress as a group. But if you are taking multi-day lessons, then you can often just get bumped up to the next level and then progress quickly from there. Of course, like everything at the mega resorts, the lessons will be more expensive. So if you are looking to learn how to ski or snowboard, you might consider going to one of those smaller independent ski resorts because lessons will be cheaper. Alright, I think that about covers it. I hope you found this guide helpful and you're ready to plan your ski trip out to Colorado. Head over to our website to find tons of great travel guides for Colorado ski towns. And don't forget to subscribe as we are currently working on our top 10 travel destinations to some of the most popular ski resorts. Thanks for watching and we'll catch you guys on the next one.